big believer in first. Okay, we have to get first pitch strikes. We talk about first batter out, first inning 0, and then the other big one's first 2 out of 3 pitch strikes. Okay, if you can get attack hitters, put them kind of in a hole early. Okay, you're setting yourself up for success. It's a lot tougher to hit when you're always getting pounded with strikes than it is ball, ball, ball. Now I'm going to get a good one. Okay, so the more that we can just kind of teach pitchers to attack hitters, be aggressive, always be around the strike zone. That's what we're looking for there. We always want to be able to execute fastballs. Okay, I know, especially at a younger age, a lot of times first time seeing some breaking balls, some off-speed pitches, and they are effective sometimes. Okay, well, they might not be that great of a pitch. It's just that the batter hasn't seen them before. Okay, so the more that we can focus on just executing fastballs, especially at a younger age, being able to locate it inside, outside, up, down, okay, that's where we're going to be more successful as pitchers. So really hammering home fastball is the most important pitch right now in your repertoire. We also want to focus on repeatable mechanics. I talk about mechanics a lot, and one thing that I don't want people to think that we're trying to do is teach everyone to throw the same way. Okay, we're not looking for everyone to throw the exact same way. What I want is guys to be able to throw the same over and over. Okay, so what's the same for one guy might not be the same for the other guy, and that's okay. Okay, but we want it to be the same for that individual. Okay, as your body gets used to how you throw, once you start changing things up, that's when injuries start to happen. Okay, now there's some things we want to maybe fix and tweak with mechanics, but for the most part, we're just looking for that repeatability. Next, again, focusing on that process over the outcome. Okay, pitching is absolutely a mind game. Okay, you can throw the absolute perfect pitch, guy can doink one over the second baseman's head, and if you get frustrated by that, it's going to be tough to be a good pitcher. Defense doesn't play good defense behind you, umpire squeezes you. Okay, those are all things that can wear on a pitcher, but we can focus on just doing what your job is. Okay, your job is to get outs. Okay, you can't control anything else other than throwing the ball over the plate. So getting them into that mentality. Next is trust. Big believer in visualization. I think the more that kids can kind of start to just think about situations, see themselves succeed in that situation, it's going to be a lot easier for them to do it. So I've talked about, especially kind of the night before a game is the best time to visualize. Get them to kind of picture themselves at the ballpark they're going to be playing at, see themselves being able to get outs, get ground ball outs, get strikeouts, whatever it might be. But getting them to start seeing it before they're actually doing it, I think is very key. And the last one is we're always competing. The biggest thing to get kids to believe in is that they are the best person for that situation. If they're standing on the mound, it's because the coaches believe in you, the teammates believe in you. So we're counting on you to be able to get us back in the dugout so we can score some more runs. But just competing no matter what. Give up a couple hits, doesn't matter. Just keep competing, get your team in the dugout. You never want to get taken out of an inning. Okay? As soon as we start looking in the dugout, kind of that take me out look, okay, that's kind of when failure starts to set in. More geared towards youth levels, we want to give everyone a chance to pitch. Okay? They might not be the best, okay, especially at a younger age, still working into their bodies, but we still want to give them that experience. Okay? We don't want to make kids scared to pitch. So the biggest thing is if you can find the right situation for them to succeed. Okay? Putting a kid that struggles to pitch in a one-run ball game where they could lose maybe the game for the team probably isn't the best situation for them. But finding a game where maybe you're getting blown out 10-1, okay? Probably not going to hurt if the kid gives up a couple runs, be all right. But being able to give them in that situation first to try to build some success, and then hopefully kind of motivate them to get better and continue pitching as well. Always looking for a positive. There's probably plenty of things that you can probably coach kids, especially kids who struggle at pitching. There's a lot of kind of tweaks and things you can talk to them about. But try to find something positive first before any type of coaching tip. Okay? So no matter how small positive it is, try to find something that kind of builds them up before we start kind of working on different things. We want to promote a quick pace, okay? No one hates it more than probably me than watching a pitcher take their time, adjust their hat after every single pitch, struggle to throw strikes and still take their time forever. We want to be quick, okay? Keeps the defense engaged, keeps the whole team engaged. The only time we want to slow down is when we are struggling, okay? We always talk about a reset button. That's going to be different for every single guy, but that's something that I would talk to kids about, okay? So maybe you walked a guy in 4 straight pitches, okay? Probably not feeling the greatest, okay? So that's where we have to get off the mound, whether it's taking off your hat or taking off your glove, maybe tying your shoe, okay? Something to kind of get rid of that, get back into a good mind frame. We talk about that a lot, and all of our guys have to have a reset written down to go to, so that way, as coaching staff, we know when they're not feeling great, okay? Catchers know when they're not feeling great. It's just a good way to kind of read how the pitcher's feeling at that moment. The last one, giving up hits is better than walks, okay? I hate free bases. Walks are awful. The more that we can get kids to believe that I would take hard hits all over the field rather than 8 walks anytime. Okay? Might not sound the greatest, but we have to make the other team earn their runs at all costs. Okay? So if we're giving them free bases, it's going to be very tough for us to win that ball game. So if we can stay under usually 2 walks a game, maybe 3 at a younger age, okay, that's kind of the ultimate goal there. Daily routines, again, playing catch. Okay? As a pitcher, that's all you're doing is playing catch with the catcher. Okay? So being able to get kids who do pitch, being able to take that throwing progression seriously, and then using their changeup, especially during their catch routine, is huge. Okay? Because changeups are not like a specific drill or things to work on there. The biggest thing with changeup is just being comfortable with it. So getting guys to use that every single time they play catch, especially at a longer distance, is going to help them develop a much better changeup that way. Always try to end any throwing progression as a pitcher with a 10-pitch flat ground. What that doesn't put a lot of stress in the arm, okay, but it gets them to use their mechanics consistently, regularly. Okay, it's very tough to be a pitcher and just flip the switch. But if you get them to do it as a routine basis, they're going to be better that way. Like Donnie said before, sleeper stretch at the end of every practice. Our guys do that. Younger ages should do that as well. Then we will do what's called Blackburn, just some shoulder exercises. Try to do that 2 or 3 times a week. And I can kind of show those later too if we need to. These are some common flaws that I've kind of come across doing some of the winter trainings, the academy sessions. Number one is a lot of guys have a weak glove side. So what I mean by that is if they're right-handed, their glove side gets away from their body. Okay? And what that does is it gets my whole body out of line. So that if it comes back here, shoulders go with it, weight goes with it, everything's falling off that way. Okay? Or it just stays down here and we don't really use it at all. Okay? What we want to try to teach is get a nice high glove, nice strong glove, okay, and bringing our chest to meet our glove. Okay? I used to say kind of glove to chest, okay, but it's better if we're getting our body out front and getting our chest to meet out in front. So now I kind of always say chest to glove. Okay? The other thing, very, very common, is flying open at the stride. So we're not striding right to home plate. We're coming kind of off that first base side as a righty. So one thing to kind of, a good terminology for them is to have them bring their whole body to the target. Okay? So not just the balls going to the catcher's mitt. We want our whole body to end up going there. Okay? Next one, short stride, okay, especially for taller kids. A lot of taller kids, actually the kids who are a little bit shorter do a better job of getting nice and wide. Okay? The taller kids tend to struggle a little bit more. So being able to challenge them to get out as far as they can is good, because obviously we want to make a shorter throw. Okay? And it gains a little bit more leverage, a little more power by gaining that distance. Another one is with our hips. Okay, a lot of young kids, I don't know, it's kind of difficult to teach them this because they want to point their foot right to our catcher, but we want to keep that thing closed as long as possible. So the more you can kind of think about leading with your heel, okay, is going to keep my hips closed, and then at the last second, okay, as my foot's coming down, that's when we're releasing those hips for our leverage that way. So kind of leading with the heel is kind of good terminology to use with those guys. Last one is finishing too high. Okay, we got a lot of guys, a lot of kids like to just kind of throw it, stay up high. Okay, we talk about a flat back all the time. And so one thing to think about is to try to get their body into almost like an arrow. Okay, you think about your own arrow. Okay, your hands leading first. Okay, then my leg should be flat behind you. Okay, so your body's like an arrow. And then the other thing too is a lot of guys finish kind of with a bent front leg, okay, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but we're losing a lot of power that way. Okay, so if I'm finishing out front here like this and just kind of stay bent, okay, my body weight's not all going forward. So what we want, okay, it's going to be bent eventually, okay, but as we come forward, it should be straight so that we're driving all of our weight up forward. Okay, so we're looking for more of that kind of stiff front leg after release. Any questions on kind of flaws or things to work on there? Good? Okay. Okay, so just a few coaching points to keep in mind. We're always coaching the mindset of the pitcher, like I said before. It's a huge mental game, especially on the pitcher's mound. All eyes are on you. Kind of feel isolated at times, but you can get them to believe that failure is impossible. The only way they fail is if they give up. Okay? So even if you give up 6 runs an inning, okay, can you get better from that? Can you learn from that? Absolutely. Okay? So getting them to see that next time out, it'll be better. Okay? There's no way you can fail if you have that mindset. And then always finding a way to get your team in the dugout. Okay? That's the ultimate goal. If your team runs out on defense, you want to be back in the dugout as soon as possible. Okay? That's your only job. It's the only thing you need to worry about. Always teaching a focal point. Okay, I'm very big, like I said before, kind of visualization. What are we looking at? Okay, a lot of kids have struggles by looking at the whole backside. They see the fans in the back. Okay, more they can focus in on one thing, one tiny little detail, like the lace in the catcher's mitt. Okay, hitting that one little spot. That's where we're going to be better pitchers. Use drive mechanics. Okay, I know it's probably not the most fun thing for kids to do, but the more that they can work on, again, their mechanics, okay, being able to repeat things consistently, the better pitchers they're going to be, the more healthy pitchers they're going to be. And the last thing that we talked about before is just have a reset button. Okay, when things go bad, what can you do to get back into a good mind frame? Real quick, just on some off-speed pitches, just if kids have questions. With the changeup, okay, I always teach it's a fastball with your 2 middle fingers. Okay, pointer finger and pinky are just kind of off to the side, thumb underneath. Okay, but it's just a fastball with those 2 fingers. Okay, and a lot of times you'll see kind of the circle change. As kids get older, hands get bigger, kids a little bit easier to throw. Kids that are younger, probably not the best grip. But basically, just that fastball, middle and ring fingers, and then keep it loose. Okay, a lot of guys tend to try to choke the baseball. Okay, that's not what we're looking for. You want to keep it loose in your fingers. And then always keeping the same arm speed. So getting them used to throwing a fastball, then a changeup. Their arm speed shouldn't change at all. So getting them to go every other can help them develop with their changeup. Curveball, breaking ball, as kids get older, just making sure that they're doing it correctly. Okay, we're not spinning the wrist. Okay, it's just turning your hand. Okay, at the release point, you're thinking about a karate chop down. Okay, so everything's the same. Just once we get to the top, that's when that hand turns. And the big thing that always helped me was thinking fingers first. Okay, the first thing that the catcher should see is always your pointer and middle finger. Okay, if they're seeing the ball first, that's not right. Okay, so if they see the fingers first, and your fingers are leading the way down to the ground, Okay, that's how we're gonna get our best breaking ball. Another thing too is kind of think of a loose elbow. A lot of guys, when they throw a breaking ball, they get real stiff, and that's not what we want either. We want the same nice loose arm, same as the fastball, just that turn of the hand. And then your sight point. Okay, the breaking ball, we want it to move. Okay, so making sure we're looking at where we want it to start instead of ending up. Okay, so if I want it to start at the catcher's shoulder, okay, that's what I better be looking at, and hopefully it breaks down to more of their knee. Okay, so again, you have to think about where you want the ball to end up. Then holding runners, I think once everyone gets to the age where guys can lead off, okay, it's important to be able to hold runners, so that guys aren't stealing bases all the time. One thing I've noticed too with a lot of young kids is when they come set, they get their feet really close together. Okay, this makes it very hard to be athletic. Okay, so making sure guys are in a wide enough set position so that they're at least shoulder width apart to get some flexibility of being able to use a slide step move, being able to pick off more effectively is important just in their setup. The biggest thing they can do to help keep runners close is holding the baseball. Okay, it's not a great pickoff move. Okay, the best thing you can do is not get into the same rhythm. Okay, so a lot of guys come set, throw after 2 seconds, throw after 2 seconds. Okay, it's a good base runner is going to pick up on that. So teaching guys to be able to hold the baseball for 5 seconds, and then 3 seconds, and then 6 seconds. Okay, so being able to vary that up. Some coaches like to teach kind of 2 pickoff moves, kind of a good one and a bad one. Bad one, try to almost trick the runner. For me personally, I would prefer just one good one. Okay, you might get one chance to get out on base on a pickoff move. If you waste it on your bad move, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So just kind of having that one go-to pickoff move you can always use, I think is the best. So we just talked about quick feet, short arm, and we always want to walk it off. We're walking towards whatever base we're picking on to. And then as a lefty and as a righty to second base, okay, we want to keep everything the same. Okay, a lot of guys have a dead giveaway with their pickoff because they do something different with their hands. You see always the hands go up as the leg goes up. Okay, it's an obvious tell for a pickoff. So if you have a lefty especially, okay, teach them to have the same move going to first as they would to home. Okay, everything's always the same. You're just driving towards first base as a lefty instead of to home plate. Okay. Last one, just slide step. So obviously you're not getting all the way up to a high balance point. Talk about when to use it. Okay, when we have a fast runner on first base, maybe they've stolen earlier in the game, things like that. And that's where, as long as we're wide enough, we can think kind of that knee to knee to gain a little bit of weight transfer, and then going home. Okay, those are kind of the big things just with the slide step. Okay, any questions on pitching aspect?